welcome you watching This Is Exclusive with me, Shavan. Tonight on This Is Exclusive, I come to you with three impactful stories, starting with Dharmasthala. The hoax that was created, who was behind this? Was this part of a larger conspiracy? Tonight, we put the spotlight on that. The other big story that I'm going to get to you tonight, a follow-up on what we did yesterday on This Is Exclusive. It turns out that the IMF has now issued a warning to Pakistan. Details of what exactly does this warning really entail? And not just that, a special breaking coming up on This Is Exclusive. But up first, let me take you through the headlines we're tracking at this hour. Republic Canada investigation blows the lid off the Dharmasthala hoax. Man who led the campaign arrested. More skeletons tumbling out. Lens now on YouTubers who raised illegal funding to allegedly bring down the Dharmasthala empire. Inheritance feud snowballs. Sanjay Kapur's mother, Rani Kapur, denies divesting assets in the under-radar RK Family Trust.
We are a country where actually the Americans said for the last few years that we should do everything to stabilize the world energy markets, including buying oil from Russia.
External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar holds bilateral talks with the Russian counterpart, says India-Russia ties are steadfast. Ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan's attempt to mislead financial agencies has now been exposed, prompting a stern warning from the International Monetary Fund over its loan spending practices. The IMF has in fact placed Pakistan's public sector spending under intense scrutiny. With the mid-year budget approval now under review, the global lender in fact has cautioned Islamabad against launching politically motivated schemes and has demanded a stringent review of funds that have been allocated to charitable organizations. In fact, 6 specific warnings have now been issued by the IMF. This after the IMF had actually doled out a massive loan just about a few months ago. Now, as per the review that has been carried out by the IMF this morning, we are given to understand that the IMF has now given a point-by-point rebuttal to the report that was prepared by the Shehbaz Sharif administration. It turns out that the IMF has essentially found multiple loopholes in the way Pakistan has essentially been spending the money. Where exactly is the money really going? The IMF essentially giving this for the development of the country. It turns out that few dubious organizations, which includes charitable organizations that Pakistan calls, the money has been diverted to them. The reality is this, ladies and gentlemen, just about a little less than 24 hours ago, on This Is Exclusive, we had basically exposed as to how Jaish-e-Mohammed as well as Hizbul Mujahideen had come up with charitable organizations, and these charitable organizations were essentially being used to raise funds of those markas or those terror hubs that was completely destroyed by India during Operation Sindoor. In fact, not through bank accounts, but it turns out through other payment sites that they were basically receiving funds and donations that were being used through 2 digital payment gateways. In fact, now it turns out that the IMF has essentially cautioned Pakistan that they perhaps cannot continue any longer. In fact, what's important to point out here, in warning number 3, this is what IMF has to tell Pakistan, that avoid spending money in politically motivated schemes. Let me also go across to our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapur, as well as my colleague Goswami, who's joining us from Jammu. Abhishek, first to you with regards to the latest set of warnings that have been issued to Pakistan. What I found out was this, that IMF is being absolutely clear. They're saying that no money should be spent on politically motivated schemes. And secondly, charitable organizations should not be funded.
Well, yes, Shawan, and I can give you an example of what are politically motivated schemes. These are not schemes, these are scams being done by Pakistan to hoodwink IMF and the world community. So, in the month of February or March, Pakistan sold off about 500,000 tons of sugar. Now, then it created a crisis of supply of sugar in Pakistan. Then they imported 700,000 tons, million tons of sugar. Now, because it's an item which qualifies for, mass consumption for the poor and the middle classes alike, Pakistan gave duty remittance. In the sense, the custom duty was waived off on the sugar imports. Now, imagine, sugar first exported at a certain price point, and then at more than 2 times that price point, imported within a couple of months. Obviously, someone made commissions, someone took cuts. And that is the reason why IMF has called this politically motivated scheme, which is essentially a scam. Apart from that, Shawan, out of 5 conditions put by IMF for their extended term facility of the loan, extended fund facility as it is called, of about $7 billion, Pakistan has failed to meet 3 of those 5 conditions, including raising the amount of revenues that the Federal Board of Revenue or the central government has to raise, as also the 4 state governments or the provinces of Pakistan. Having said that, I think there is a comprehensive review coming up next month in the month of September, and then perhaps Pakistan could be read the Riot Act. This is essentially a warning shot coming in from the IMF. We still don't know for what impact, because even the loan that was given in the midst of Operation Sindoor was seen as a sort of a sop to Pakistan for having provided President Trump with whatever has happened, whatever has been in terms of facilitating some deals for the United States, including, of course, the nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. So I think even IMF seems like gamed. And while they are making all these noises, the proof of the pudding would be in its eating. When next month comprehensive review happens, this breach of conditions that Pakistan find itself in, would it have an impact on the continuation of the $7 billion of that loan of the IMF? And in fact, there is another tranche of $1 billion that has to come off post the next month review. If that is stopped, then maybe perhaps we would have an understanding of whether IMF is actually being honest about it or not.
Well, Abhishek, I'll request you to stay on with us. We have now got more details of what are the conditions that have been imposed. And in fact, it turns out that certain deadlines that were put up by IMF, that too has not been completely fulfilled by Pakistan. In fact, IMF's bailout package is in limbo. Pakistan's Federal Board of Revenue fails to even comply at 2 conditions. They've missed the deadline to collect about 12.3 lakh crore rupees as revenue and 30 billion coming in from business. In fact, this was to be raised through taxes, which it seems that they have completely failed, at least on 2 conditions. Revenue deadlines have been missed. Let me also go across to my colleague Gursimran. Can we have both Gursimran and Abhishek on the screen right now as we take our viewers through the details of every aspect of this deadline that has been missed? Quickly, if you can tell me, Gursimran, with regards to what are the 2 conditions that were imposed and the deadlines that have been missed by Pakistan?
See, Shawan, what it was that Pakistan was granted a loan of 5,320 SDR. This is special drawing rights, that is the currency used by the IMF. So out of that, Pakistan got 1,520 SDR and the rest 3,800 SDR are pending. But now what it has happened, that it has gone into limbo, the Pakistan's right to withdraw this. Reason being the 2 reasons, that is the Pakistan's Federal Board of the Reserve that looks into the conditions that have been put forth by the IMF. They have failed on 2 fronts. First was to actually generate the revenue of 12.3 billion, that was lakh crores that have to be generated. They failed on that front. Second was the Tajir Dosti scheme that was introduced by Pakistan to generate the taxes from the small and the medium businesses. The aim was to get 15 billion Pakistani rupees as tax, but they have failed on that front also. So out of the total 5, they have failed completely on the 2 fronts, which makes it really, really concerning for the Pakistan, because because the remaining 3,800 SDR, which amounts to almost 1/3 of the total $7 billion that was given to the Pakistan as this bailout package, they have been kept on the standby. That is what we are getting to know. This is as per the report that the assessment IMF has carried out on 15th of August, and this assessment report has been released by the IMF on 19th. So next, the weekly review will take place on 22nd. That is tomorrow it will take place, and after a couple of days of the assessment of this analysis of situation that is developing, the next things will come out. But for now, Pakistan seems to be in great trouble, and the reality remains that the India has been time and again has warned IMF against granting any loans to the Pakistan or the bailout packages. That is turning out to be true because Pakistan has not fulfilled all the conditions or the compliance that it has to.
Well, in fact, just quickly to take our viewers through some more details coming in. Number one, IMF has now told Pakistan that no, there will be absolutely no space for politically motivated schemes. Secondly, there's a stringent review of the funds that have been given to charitable organizations. That's another point that has been made by Pakistan right now. In fact, they have now missed the revenue deadline to be raised. In fact, can we just make the correction right now? It's the revenue deadline that has been missed. That's about it. It's the revenue deadline that has been missed by Pakistan. Not as far as more details now essentially coming in. I'll just quickly take you through more details. This comes just a day after what we had essentially exposed as to how there aren't charitable organizations, but these are terror organizations that are operating using new fronts. Al-Rahmat happens to be one such new front that has been created by Jaish-e-Mohammed as well as Hizbul Mujahideen. Well, thank you very much, Gursimran, for getting us the latest details. In fact, we've been able to put together the latest warning coming in from the IMF. Will the global body really act upon it, or will it turn its gaze from what's really happening in Pakistan? Quickly getting you another breaking news now coming in. The first pictures of External Affairs Minister Dr. Arnab with his counterpart in Moscow. Remember the bilateral talks that have essentially taken place. In fact, these are the first set of visuals that we have just got of the External Affairs Minister now meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. This comes in after there was an elongated talks with Russian Foreign Minister. In fact, the discussion was largely around the tariffs that have been imposed by the United States of America and the offer that has now been made by the Russian side with regards to how it would be taken forward. In fact, an offer has now come in from Russia with regards to expansion of their markets for Indian products. In fact, that is something that is now being considered very, very closely. In fact, there is also another big breaking news that we're going to put out in a short while from now with regards to when President Putin actually comes to India. What is it that India is likely to discuss? Top defense sources have now confirmed to Republic TV a few details we are going to put out in a short while from now. But first, take a look at these images that we have just accessed. This pictures that we have is of Dr. S. Jaishankar meeting President Vladimir Putin. A quick word from our senior executive editor Abhishek Kapur. Abhishek, we've got the first pictures coming in. Is it basically setting the tone for the president's visit to India?
Well, yes, Shaman, you are absolutely right. In fact, President Putin is expected to make his bilateral visit to India sometime in the month of October and November. And the dates are being firmed up. We had a meet already happening when NSA Doval visited Moscow just last week. And External Affairs Minister's visit is, in fact, one more step in that direction. Of course, he's there to take care of the larger aspect of the bilateral relationship as well. But I think in diplomacy, optics really count, and for President Putin to meet both NSA Doval and External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. And remember, in the Kremlin, there are two very similar of these tables where President Putin meets and entertains his foreign guests. One is smaller, the other is bigger, and where he meets determines how close he is or what picture he wants to present of the closeness of the relationship. This is a smaller table where he had also met NSA, and now he's meeting the EAM. So I think that really gives you an idea of the kind of messaging that's coming in from Russia. Also, the fact that President Putin is standing by the side of President Trump mentioned how the U.S.-Russia trade has blossomed by about 20-23%. So I think this is a very important picture coming out of Kremlin, Shawan, and bodes well for not just the India-Russia relationship, but makes us look good in the larger context of the European tug-of-war that's been happening between Europe and Russia, between India and the United States, between Russia and China, between China and the United States, and there would be a lot of takeaways from that.
Well, thank you very much, Abhishek, for getting us the latest details. In fact, we're getting in an inside scoop as to what is expected when Russian President Vladimir Putin makes his visit later this year. In fact, we are now being given to understand India is finalizing, in fact, they're prioritizing Sukhoi 57 fighter jet deal, marking a strategic defense breakthrough. In fact, Russia has proposed immediate delivery of 20 to 30 Su-57E jets within 4 years, addressing India's critical squadron shortage. In fact, the comprehensive package includes unprecedented full technology transfer, source codes, stealth systems, avionics, enabling integration of indigenous weapons. The deal gains urgency amid Pakistan's planned J-35 fighter induction. So confirmation coming in inside defense scoop, Su-57, that's on the table right now in terms of negotiation with Russia. In fact, it turns out that there is already an indication coming in from the Russian side that they are willing to basically give about 27 to 30 such Su-57 fighter jets in a span of just 4 years. Let me also bring in my colleague and our defense correspondent, Ishan, who's joining us on this broadcast. Ishan, a big news now coming in with regards to the deal, the Su-57 deal. How soon can that take place, number one? Number two, what has been finalized so far?
Chavan, sources have confirmed to Republic that visit of Mr. Putin to India, it will be seen that the Su-57 deal will be tabled and will be discussed. It has been proposed that during this deal, the Su-57 deal, 20 to 40 aircraft will be given in flyaway condition within 4 years to Indian Air Force to kind of stop the dwindling number, to help boost the squadron numbers. And after that, there will be a complete transfer of technology, including source codes, and this will help integrate Indian weapons onto the Su-57 platform. This deal is expected to be discussed during the upcoming presidential meeting, and during this meet, it will be noted that this will be one of the larger deals, and this comes hot on the heels of the information that we have earlier received that 97 LCA aircraft have been approved for purchase. These are LCA Mark 1A aircraft, and apart from that, there's ongoing discussions with Rafale for purchase of 90 to 114 models for the Indian Air Force. These measures are being taken by the Ministry of Defense to provide the required squadron strength numbers to the IAF in light of retirement of older legacy aircraft such as the Jaguars and the MiGs. This will also ensure that India has sufficient numbers to fight a two-front war against Pakistan and China. Thank you, sir.
Ishan, just a quick question before I let you go with regards to the deal that was supposed to take place. Now, this was on the cards for quite some time. What has really happened now that India is expediting this entire matter of getting Su-57 and also perhaps looking at reducing the shortage crisis that has basically come up in the last few months?
Chavan, a major push for indigenization and defense production has taken place after Operation Sindoor. The army has given a significant boost to purchase weapons and required equipment, and thereafter it was seen during the tragic Jaguar crash. Also, it was noted that the Jaguars are also legacy aircraft that have 3 to 4 squadrons functioning right now, which need to be retired. Apart from that, the Su-27 platform is also aging. looking at all of these, it has been the government has taken a bold decision to take fast, quick decisions in acquisition of these aircraft, and now they are implementing this decision to purchase not only the Su-57 but also the indigenous LCM Mark 1A, and apart from that, they are also looking into purchasing of 90 to 114 Rafale aircraft. These are top of the line
Right.
aircraft with best.
Well, thank you very much, Ishan, for getting us the latest details. Well, that's all that we could pack in this edition of This Is Exclusive. Coming up, trending with my colleague, Rakshit.